Whew, that is really cold. Is this just straight winter, as cold as it gets right here?
This is straight cold winter in New York, desolate, freezing, really good waves, hard, heavy, cold snow, and only the most dedicated people out there surfing. You know, this is a weekday in the beginning of March. Water temperatures are probably about, maybe they're 40 degrees if we're lucky. Probably less than that though. The water feels heavy when it gets that cold. It just, when you move through it, you feel just, it's harder to move through. It's not like surfing in warm water. So these are the most dedicated people. You know, this is a work day. These guys are out surfing. The surf is going off, and the bottom photo you can see, there's no one on the beach. It's this guy surfing, and then me taking photos of this guy surfing.
Dude. That's commitment, Matt. That's another level of commitment.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But these guys in New York, they're nuts.
Much respect to that. Insane. I mean, respect to you. You're out there. You're just as nuts. You cannot say that because you're out there as well, shooting and capturing these moments. And that's what's so great about it, because we wouldn't get to see that. We could hear it. We're like, oh my goodness, they surf in the snow. But you're able to go out there and document these. This is your home. And we've seen it from, you know, the fall colors, spring, all these beautiful colors and lights and things. But like this and everything, that's one of the moods. And this is why you love shooting what you do.
Yeah, this is the ultimate experience. It's kind of my way, because I grew up bodyboarding and then started surfing, and my way of showing the world what it is that I love to do and that I find so beautiful and so inspiring, and that I am always going to be chasing for the rest of my life. You know, I'll be 95 years old and I'll be on a bodyboard.
Bravo, I love that. That's really great to hear, and that's much respect, dude. That's epic. Little warmer waters, it seems, here.
This is, I had said that it was a trip of a lifetime the first time I went on that boat trip, but I got to go a second time. I think because I took decent photos that first trip. So on the second trip, I went back, same exact kind of trip. We hit a couple different surf spots. And this is, again, one of the, I think is actually the last day of the trip again.
It always is.
This is the last day of the trip. And this is one of my favorite photos from that trip, where this is a small wave. I think it's called Bintangs. Do you know that wave? Oh no, not Bintangs. Oh man, I forget the name of the wave. It's just this little novelty.
To really know like too much of all like the surf breaks there. There's just so many different waves and amazing, incredible waves. But no, I'm not too sure. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's like around every bend, there's something insane and beautiful and amazing. So this is just like a little novelty wave that you can kind of pull into the barrel for a second. And I don't know who this is. I don't even know what his face looks like. I don't know who this person is. This is a guy who was on a boat trip. I think he was from Australia, maybe, or New Zealand. And he was just out surfing, having some fun. And he just was in the right spot at the right time. And I was looking back at the shore, and you can see this photo taken underwater where his hand is just in the face of the wave, and he's kind of stalling, and he's just setting it up, pulling into the barrel. And I just, for me, maybe it's not the most special photo in the world, but I just
incredible, dude. Good work on that. I love his hands. Like you can see the fingers all through there, and just the placement of that. It's like absolutely perfect. Oh.
Yeah.
More just specialty colors and little motion blurs like this. This was a different series you did. I remember seeing a lot of more abstract, but the details and the colors and the textures like coming out like for a while. That was a lot of like your work. Like, I mean, I know you still do it, but I know there's a period of time that I kept seeing a lot of this coming out from you.
Yeah, I think that photographers, artists, anyone who's creative goes through periods in their work. And this was a period where I was really focused on documenting these textures you could find in the surf. And these textures I kind of wanted to be a little bit more painterly. So capturing them at a slower shutter speed and tracking with them and finding these beautiful moments and focusing on those instead of just focusing on a little bit pulled back of a whole wave, which I'm showing on the bottom, capturing those shapes that you're finding and those shades and the shadows and that beautiful reflection of that light. And this, I mean, this was special for another reason. This was the craziest sunset I have ever seen in New York. And this is really pretty accurate to what that looked like. It was fire red.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I love that we can like go back through these photos. And so like even you're like, that was the best. I know exactly where, and that's what these images do. That's what they serve, that purpose of being able to transport us back to those moments, transport us right back to there and being right there on the water, but then also being able to share it with everyone here too.
Yeah, that's part of why I do it, is to create something that other people might appreciate, and people do appreciate it. They love to see imagery from everybody, and this is my contribution to that and my way of expressing something inside of me, something that I want to create and put out to the world. So this is what you get.
More texture and stuff. Tell us about this. What lens are you using on these? These are just spectacular, like water detail.
Yes, so these are really pretty difficult to capture. You need really specific kind of conditions, I think, from my experience. These photos are both taken like before sunrise, like just at dawn, like first light. I'm out there shooting. These photos are taken with a Zeiss Milvis 85 millimeter manual focus only 1.4 lens, shooting at 1.4 in the water. Those are waves. Those are not just like the flat wave, flat ocean. That is a wave breaking. And this is the detail that surfers and everybody else in the world does not get to see, including myself. This moves so quickly that you can't see it with your eye. This can only be captured in photo form because it just happens so quickly. That wave is passing by. It's moving so quickly. You're not going to see that. So this is shooting at like, if I can, I would shoot at 1/8,000th of a second and like ISO, 800 maybe, and just before dawn and just try to really freeze that tiny plane of focus as much as I can, so that you can then, right now I'm shooting with the Canon R5, so 45 megapixels. You can make these prints huge, and you can really inspect every detail. So for this, being able to print this at like 40 by 60 inches and look at this beautiful, tiny piece of nature that is happening every single second of every single day all across the world that we don't get to see is really, really interesting to me. And I find so much beauty in them. That photo to the left is
I love that. I can see that line kind of moving there in that wave. That's a different and unique perspective. As I click through this next one, tell me a little bit how you liking the R5.
Oh my God, this thing is a game changer for me specifically. I feel like it was made for me because 45 megapixels, 12 frames per second, mechanical with 20 frames per second. Oh my God, like you can really go nuts. Print huge, beautiful artwork for people who want to collect photos. And you have the ability to crop if you need to. I love this thing. It's small, it's light. That's fantastic in the water. That's huge. And also what I haven't yet been able to experiment with is shooting like 120 frames per second in the water video would really be super special.
Yeah, I've been doing that the past few weeks, using that 4K in the water, and it's terrifying. I'll send you a clip later, and I can't believe it. I keep looking at it, I'm like, is that real? Like, and you know what? The photos, shooting photos is changing the way I shoot, which is even scarier too, because using the face tracking, I feel like I'm cheating, Matt. I used to be on my 1DX, I'd be changing my focus point, you know, like anchoring it left, right, up, down, how I wanted to change it. And now on that face, I'm just moving it like this, and I'm like, this is easy. This is scary. I'm changing my composition, and it's locked on the guy's eyes and moving it, and I'm just going however I want and making my composition. It's wild. It is mind-blowing. John Lawrence on here, I know, was telling me for just years, like, yeah, he just holds the camera out and he's looking at it instead of looking through it, and it's changing the way he shoots. The composition, he's being able to see different things and light and how things react. And it's, man, I can't wait to see what you get this winter with it. And with that video, it's crazy. Wait till you see the new housing and all those things. It's scary.
I can't wait. Super excited.
Yeah.
Crazy. So. the sunsets with like in slow motion.
I got a couple.
Video.
I'll send you some from the past week, and it's just, I can't believe it that's coming out of here. You know, it's quite incredible. So yeah, as we.
That's pretty cool. Canon pushing the envelope and giving us such good equipment.
You know what? I did try the R6, and you might want to not to add another thing to your plate, but the R6 in low light, the ISO blows away the 1DX3 and the R5. Not to talk bad on those ones; they have all their strong suits of their things, but that R6 in low light, I have a shot that's 25,000 ISO, and you would think it was 1,000 ISO on any other camera. 25,000 ISO.
Now we can go out and get moonlight.
You have to shoot all the time now is what it is. There's no excuse. No.
Yeah, there's no excuse. You should be out there.
Oh, man. Well,
2 a.m.
As we kind of click through to the last image here, you know, again, with your just absolutely spectacular details, let's talk a little bit about this, and then we're going to take some questions and go through that. But just, you know, I know this is that same that you're working on, very detailed shot and everything like that. Very unique, very different. Just tell us a little bit more about this one as we kind of then jump into the questions after.
So these are taken, this is with the Canon 100mm macro lens, which shooting in the water, shooting macro is, I mean, I'm sure people have done it, but I didn't know of anyone who had done it. So I wanted to go out there and again, challenge myself. Let's go out there and let's capture high resolution, tiny details in the surf. Let's go try it. Let's go see what we get. And this is what you're getting out there. Out there in the surf, you have these beautiful textures that could be abstract artwork. That's kind of what I'm inspired by is looking at abstract paintings and then trying to find my own way of creating that through photography. And
Matt, your outlook is very admirable, and your perspective on that, and just your passion too. I can hear it through, you know what I mean, through the screen on this and in your voice. And I think that's why, again, this is what we do, you know what I mean? And being able to see those details that are seen every day, all day, everywhere, but being able to capture it in a different way that's truly unique. And you did that here. So great work. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's jump into these questions. So how do you keep water droplets off of flat quartz?
So I haven't found the ideal way to do it. I've tried a couple different things, and it tends to be a mix. So I have used you take surf wax and you lightly drag it across the port, and you create kind of like a crosshatch. And then if you leave that in the sun for a couple of minutes, it'll soften the wax even more. And take a clean cloth, and then you can polish the port with that wax and that clean cloth. And that'll create a surface where the water will be right off it. It'll kind of just, gravity will pull it right off the front. And after a while, here in New York, maybe because there's you know, a lot of sea life and you know, algae and whatever, sometimes that starts to wear off by the end of the session. So what I end up doing in the water is I will turn the camera around and take the port, and I'll rub it on my nose and kind of get the
If you
oil
don't have
that you have
sunscreen,
naturally on your
guys,
skin.
that's if you don't have sunscreen on. You don't want to have the oil, the sunscreen on your port. Just a FYI on that. Yeah. Someone just
No
sunscreen.
Right. I look kind of red.
Matt doesn't use sunscreen, so it's okay.
Maybe I should use it. I do. No, I do. Well, I'm most of the time the waves are pretty bad in the summer, so I'm not able to shoot as much. But in the winter, the sun is like, it's like Arctic sky kind of deal where it's like the sun comes up for 5 minutes and that's it. That's not true, but it's really low in the sky. It's not the worst thing in the world.
I do a very similar thing as Matt as well for my flat ports, with a little wax. Less is more, guys. Do not wax your port like you would do a surfboard. Please do not do that. Very light, a little bit of sun. I mean, I'd even rub my hand on surfboard if I'm in the water and need some, and you literally like nothing on your hand and just do a quick layer over it and kind of buff it out. Again, you want it clear. So if you're seeing white smudges across, not going to work because that's going to compromise the quality of your image. So less is more. Try to see what works. Face oils, things like that are some of the best. No sunscreen, a little bit of wax. Usually works pretty good.
You can also take earwax too.
That's earwax.
I've done it. You got to make it work.
So tell us a little bit about how you submit to a magazine and an editor saying directly, would you like it as a cover? How did you approach that for like the Surfer magazine cover?
The Surfer magazine cover, I was fortunate enough that Ashton Goggins contacted me, and he was an editor at Surfer, and he was really interested in my work, as well as Grant Ellis, who is the photo editor. So the two of them, I think, came up with this idea of reaching out to me and saying, hey, Matt, we've been seeing your work for years. How about we do something with you? So they did a little interview with me where it just worked out perfectly that I was in California at the time, and I stopped by the Surfer headquarters, and I did an interview with Ashton for maybe like an hour and a half. And they surprised me with what they gave me. Wow. I didn't know that was going to be the cover. And my experience so far, I haven't gotten many. I've gotten 2 or 3. Has been total surprise. And the way it's worked for me is that I take my photos, I save them up for a couple months, and then I submit them in a batch to the photo editor or someone else in the magazine. And I say, hey, this is the work that I've been creating. Because it's not like there's not so much surfing happening
regularly.
That I can kind of submit really, really often. I kind of save up work and then I submit everything at once. And then from there, maybe I'll find out a couple months later, oh, you got a double-page spread in Surfer Magazine or the Surfer's Journal, and congratulations. And then I'd say, yes, awesome.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, perfect. How do you think of what settings you need? I mean, every moment is different, guys. If Matt gave you the settings right there, and as he gave a few, it's going to be different for every moment. You cannot take that. You need to take it with a grain of salt and be like, okay, see what works in your situation, your equipment, your lighting, the waves, everything's going to be slightly different. Do not take it to a T. Take it as kind of an outline and then make it your own for what fits for you. For what would be my perspective on it. Matt, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just kind of think of it kind of like a scale system where you have this balance, and say you want a shallower depth of field, right? You want to bring that and focus on something really small, you want to blow out the background. You want it to be really like soft in the background and just focus on something. I'll shoot at 2.8, but I'll have to raise my shutter up. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'll say, I don't want to show much of the background. I just want to really focus on the surfer who's walking. Okay. I will switch. Just kind of comes naturally to me. But I'm always taking into consideration what it is that I want to show. Do I want to capture a tiny focal plane? Then I'll shoot low. And then if I want to show the entire scene, like for a lineup, it works great if you could shoot at f8 for a lineup, because you capture so much that is in the scene without softening too much.
That's perfect. And any other words or comments as we kind of close out here? I mean, I really appreciate it. You gave some amazing insight, showed some great images, and told the story. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Any other comments as we close out?
Just want to say thank you, Zach, for reaching out to me and putting this together. I've been following your work since, I think, like 2006 is probably the first time I stumbled upon it.
Thank you.
And have been a fan ever since. And it's so great to see what you've done with your photography and becoming a world famous photographer, where that's brought you. And I hope to do my own thing where I continue to pursue this, and just want to say that if I'm able to do it in New York, coming from where I came from, kid who had never seen the ocean until he was about 10 years old, you can do it too. I promise you, you absolutely can do it. You can even do it now in, the middle of Texas.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, can start anywhere. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week on Between Sets. Thank you very much again, Matt. Thank you, David and John and Cannon, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.